Hello. Uh, I am on the verge of publishing my second memoir, and I am pretty nervous about what it's all about. Because, as you know, or you don't know, I came from Utah. And at one time, Utah was full of polygamists. This was way back when it was first settled as a territory. And Joseph Smith, the founding prophet of the Mormon Church, had introduced polygamy into the church. And Brigham Young, after he was killed by the mob, he and his brother Hiram, they came west. Brigham Young, well, they didn't, but Brigham Young came, and this was the new order, the new revelation. And I thought that it filled the state up with a lot of Mormons and polygamists in a hurry. But anyway, I am one person who found polygamy. And what is more, the fallout from polygamy was horrendous. I mean, you think that just because, and the church didn't help any, hadn't helped at all, because it still got it on the books, because churches have a very hard time with a revelation that's supposed to come from God, and then the President of the United States won't let Utah into the Union, full of polygamists, and still practicing. So he told them they had to give it up. Well, he wasn't God, so the hierarchies just, I suppose, pondered and pondered, and they just finally left it on the book, somehow implying that when we get to the hereafter, we will somehow or another live in polygamy, and it will be superior to what we're living in now. Oh. Well, boggles the mind what revelations men get from on high that women would never get satisfied. Polygamy, because the women are the ones that suffer in it. The men don't suffer, because they supposedly have 7 or so women to make over them, and oh dear, to me this policy was so anti-woman rights, I can't even. And Emma, his original first wife, Joseph's original first wife, you think she liked polygamy? Oh, I should say not. She denied for years and years that he even did such a thing. And I don't even know whether she ever accepted the idea that he did. And they went on with a church that didn't have polygamy in it. Her son, Joseph Smith's son, so on. Well, but this is still the church of a whole lot of people, so when I go against it, I feel pretty nervous. But my experiences in Utah as a kid, I thought the fallout from polygamy was, and what would happen is, it was secret. I mean, if the men were womanizing and having affairs, trying to make up for the 7 wives they had lost through statehood, and they would have to do it in secret, of course, and sneak around. And then there were other stuff going on that was just simply horrendous that people fell into, I thought, to a greater degree in a state like Utah that it had polygamy than normal. So when I got a boyfriend in Utah, I was forever trying to find out who I was sharing him with. I became a detective like, oh, you would not believe. I could have gone to work for any detective agency trying to detect lies, cheating. I'd set traps. The lengths that I would go to try to prove my case. In fact, there is the account of my romance with a southern Utah bachelor who was 28 and I was like 36. And oh, it is something else. The traps. But I took the bull by the horns right away, and I said to him when I first started talking to him, well, you work as a logger. What do you do when you horny? Mess around with guys? Oh, boy, did he ever get frosty at that? And he said, and he accused me of a whole bunch of stuff too that he was suspicious of, and so we had quite the conversation to start with. Well, that's just what went on all the time. I went out to his camp to try to see if I couldn't figure out who he might, and we got in a great big fight out there and over I don't even know what, and I had to leave. But anyway, I just tried to prove my case that he really was, because he was just such a good liar. This guy, he lied about everything, but he would tell you every single thing that he had stolen since he was a little child, and I thought it was to cover up the other, but he would never tell you anything because this was taboo. Everybody knew that you didn't tell that kind of thing. And that's why it made it so hard for the women to detect when their boyfriend had a male boyfriend, not a female. And don't think this is not serious, because I found out when I was 5 years old that my father was one of those who had boyfriends on the side, because he was a cowboy and they did a lot of camping out, just like the loggers. So if you were a logger, you would be camped out all summer long up in the mountains, and all week. And if you were a cowboy or a rancher, you would be riding the range, and you might be gone a month when they was in the winter, and so you'd take your love life right with you. Well, just imagine if you were naive and you didn't really suspect such I don't know what to say. You could be fooled so easy. And I saw women that I thought were fooled years. My own mother. 35 years that woman was in that marriage, and she was fooled the whole time, because she just didn't think. And was I, her own little daughter, going to tell her? No, because they already had terrible fights. She was very suspicious of him, yes. And they had the most terrible fights that you ever saw, and I thought, somebody will die. Somebody will die if I go tell her something even worse. Oh. So, having a father that I observed all during childhood, I was very alert when I fell for this logger, I was probably the most detective-minded girlfriend that he had ever run into. So, but I just don't know whether the rest of the world can take such stuff. So I am just wondering, I mean, because anytime anybody proposes some kind of combination besides just the basic man and woman, I just shudder. Polygamy, open marriage, what kind of stupid, idiotical idea is that? Let any woman who thinks she likes open marriage, why don't you come and live in Utah? You need to be there. You need to find out the results of actually going and living these stupid ideas like polygamy. See what happens. See how much fun it is. So I am just a many years veteran of these kind of variations on the good old man-woman marriage. Because as you can imagine, in Utah, it's very hard for some people just to settle for just a plain old man and woman. How boring, dull. I mean, they're hooked. They're hooked on variation. So I finally decided I'm giving up these Utah guys. I cannot cope with all of their schemes, plots they've been doing for a lifetime. How to cheat, how to talk women into all kinds of what this guy would try to talk me into. So, this is why I have returned to the conventional with relief after spending a whole early lifetime coping with variations like polygamy and all of the ways that you can add to the man-woman combo. A man over here, a woman over here. So, it's true. So you can see why I'm having a hard time publishing this memoir.